Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still with you on today's edition of Cairo Local Time. And of course, as promised earlier, I'm joined in the studio by our guest who will be talking to us much more about ecotourism, green tourism, and much more about the tourism sector here in Egypt. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon in the studio by Mr. Ali Khalifa, the international tourism expert. It's a very good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you.
Mr. Ali, first and foremost, 83 Egyptian hotels received the eco-friendly certificate. What is eco-friendly tourism? What does it entail, and what does this mean for Egyptian hotels?
Many of these hotels are located in various areas around Egypt, and especially in the remote areas such as the Oasis or on the Red Sea coast. And many of these hotels are maintaining features and low impact on the environment. Many of them are eco-friendly. They are maintaining a low carbon imprint. Also, they recycle most of the resources. They get recycled, and these are the main criteria for a hotel to gain such a certificate as an eco-friendly and a green tourism partner. And that is a trend that is spreading in the world these days, and it's spreading rapidly because of raising awareness about forest and about desert and about culture. And it's also sustainable, part of the sustainable tourism impact that has been adopted by the UN WTO for the last 20 years, encouraging a lot of countries to support communities, increase employment, and getting involvement of local societies into hotels that are eco-friendly, that are using resources with a minimum impact. Because it helps these societies to grow again, because tourism have got actually a very heavy and dangerous impact on resources, on natural resources, especially flora and fauna, especially desert, especially areas of the under the water, corals, for example. And when we minimize such an impact, we become eco-friendly, we engage more people into the society. We teach them how to maintain it and keep it for the next generation, and it keeps it sustainable. And once we kept the tourism into the sustainable track, and it becomes a viable resource for next generations.
How important are eco-friendly hotels? Is there a specific market? Do some people specifically look for an eco-friendly, green certified hotel before they travel?
Absolutely.
But certain populations, not all.
First of all, you need to understand that these hotels, they mostly full most of the time of the year. I mean, we have a number of these hotels in Siwa, and they are full. Yes, the inventory of the hotels, 20 rooms or 30 rooms or 40 rooms.
They're not that big.
It's not that big, but they are full, and sometimes they are twice the price of any five-star hotels.
Oh, okay.
Some of the hotels in Siwa, the price can be $300 a night. Wow. In one of the very eco-friendly hotels, some of these green hotels that are recycling everything and using natural resources and having a low impact on natural resources. The amount of money that people are paying in these hotels is against the freedom of sitting among nature, being back to nature again. A lot of people are eager to have this, and especially when they travel to Southeast Asia, they do the exact same thing. They go and stay in the forest, or they stay up in the mountain in some of these ecologist hotels, which are environmentally friendly.
You mentioned the issue that being eco-friendly helps the surrounding communities.
Yes,
how so?
Societies. Because when you are, for example, when you are having your hotel on top of a mountain and you have a number of trees around you, and then when you use natural resources, you tend to use the local community to provide you with some of your resources for that hotel, because it's actually operating on a minimum impact. So it's not using industrialized equipment. So it's mostly going back to nature, using things that the locals have been using there for hundreds of years. So that means engagement, like for example, bringing clean water up to the mountains, or getting rid of the waste through eco-friendly ways, engaging people who are living in the surrounding. That's all helping decreasing the unemployment rate, and also engaging local communities. So it's not like the hotel is going to come and destroy the environment where those people have lived for hundreds of years. It's going to complement that environment. It's going to stay there and complement the environment and get them engaged into the industry, but in a much different way, in a sustainable way that sustain their lives, sustain their communities, and keep it for a long time. It's a recycling operation, I would say. Instead of destroying instead of the tourism coming destroying of the beauty, they're actually maintaining it, keeping it,
and saving it,
for
the future generation.
For the future.
Right, Mr. Alaa, now as an international tourism expert, Egypt has come a long way in rebuilding its tourism sector, in rebuilding its image internationally, especially after all the events, after the revolutions, etc. How far, in your opinion, has Egypt come? How well is tourism doing now? How have we diversified tourism in Egypt? Because there's all these different kinds of tourism that we never used to lean on before. For example, conference tourism has become a big thing. Sports, health tourism, religious tourism. There's lots of different kinds now of tourism to cater to the different diverse visitors. So how far, in your opinion, have we come?
Egypt, for a long time, and we're talking about for the last 2,000 years, Egypt has always been a tourist destination. Has been the biggest tourist destination, even for other nations to come to Egypt. Everyone wants to go to Egypt. So Egypt as a country sell itself so easily. However, there are so many tourism products that other travelers who wish to go to Egypt, they don't know about. Egypt have got a lot of resources, and it can provide a lot different tourism experiences.
Yes.
So right now, what is known about Egypt is the cultural tourism, right? History, and we started for the last 20, 30 years to promote leisure tourism on the beaches, on the Sinai, and also on the Red Sea. And we started promoting like ecotourism, like as we talked in the very beginning of this episode. And also, we're trying to promote other types of tourism. We're trying to get Egypt, present Egypt as a venue for meetings and conferences, especially for international communities, so they can have. And that started was holding a lot of conferences in Egypt, especially in Sharm el-Sheikh and other areas, especially in Luxor. We do nowadays focus on this point because it brings a lot of awareness. And we are trying to implement new ways or new products for the industry, and saying that we can also compete for these products among other countries. And that increases awareness about our country, and also diversify the products. And the reason and the only way to do this, and the only way to promote it, is to do an awareness campaign.
Yes.
Not to the local, not to the individuals themselves only, because that's the biggest mistake that people are doing, is that whenever they have a new tourism product, they go to the individuals and then they promote it. It is not to the individuals, it's to presented to the buyer, and the buyer in this case is not the individual, it's actually the company is going to list this product. So for example, if you think of an international company that's selling tours all over the world, when it comes to Egypt, when you look at the section of Egypt, they're only selling cultural tours. But when you approach those people and tell them, I have these different products, what they do is that they would list it for you, and once they list it, that gives a multiple choice for the regular customer who go to these companies and book his tour. And so that's a different way or a different channel of promoting and selling this kind of product. on two levels, on the B2B level and on the B2C level, business to business level and business to customer level.
Right. Let me ask you another important question. The different kinds of tourists that are now coming to Egypt. Now, we don't just see the European and the American, we see Asians, much more than we used to
different
before.
Nationalities, you mean?
Yes, different nationalities, the different, the diverse groups from different countries. Why they're coming, what has changed, what has attracted them to Egypt? What has made them decide to come visit Egypt when they never used to before?
It's awareness. When you create an awareness campaign, that's what I do when I do my promotional campaigns, you know, for other countries. And what you do is that once you increase the awareness, whether it's about a specific product or it's about a country in general, or it's about a modern achievement of a country or ancient achievement, the more you increase the awareness, the more it becomes there's an eagerness of those people to come and visit this country. So it becomes in the bucket list. This is going to be in my list. I have to see this country. I have to go and see the pyramids. I have to see Abu Simbel. I've got to go and see the underwater treasures of the Red Sea. So you create the inner eagerness and awareness. And one of the main effective methods is visual. That's the reason why when we do a promotional campaign, we do it in a more focus on a visual side. We create videos, we create infographic, we create not only written content, but also we can participate or invite movie theaters or big production companies to come and do their filming, you know, within the country, because once you have this done and run, that increases the awareness. Let me give you an example about this if you wish to know more information.
Yes.
If you know the film called The Transformer, very famous film, it's a Hollywood film. Most of that film have been, the shooting of that film was done in Jordan.
Yes, just like Aladdin.
Just like Aladdin.
Aladdin was recently just shot in Jordan.
Exactly. So why is that? If you go and speak to our Jordanian brothers, what they say is that we realize that we only receive 3.5 million tourists every year. We need to increase the awareness. We have a very small budget, so we open up the area for international shooting. Come to our country, do the shooting, the international. We will facilitate. Who did that? They learned from who? They learned from Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi did the same thing for Fast and Furious. If you've seen the film, they did the same thing. They not only this, but they funded part of the movie.
More.
They give sponsorship to that movie, and what happens is everyone wants to go and see it. Everyone wants to. If you see all these big skyscrapers and all the towers and all the beautiful luxurious hotels in Abu Dhabi, they would love to go and see it. So that increasing awareness campaign, Jordan also went on the same track. They want to increase the awareness campaign about the Wadi Rum, about Petra, and these are like marvelous areas, but who would know them, you know, unless you have like an international movie that's been shot and people speak about it and say, hey, I'd like, and of course spread it all over social media. That's some of the approaches that other countries are doing. In our case, what we do is that we charge, and then we charge again, and then we charge again, and then we charge again. So what we do is that we charge a lot of money to those people on a short term, but then we don't look at it at a long term. If we look at it at a long term, the gains are perhaps 1,000 times more than what we get on a short term. What we get on a short term is just a very small amount of money.
Temporary, yes. Temporary, yes. Mr. Ali, also, I wanted to ask you about your opinion, some of the campaigns that have recently been happening. For example, the museums that have been traveling around the world with pieces of,
the exhibitions,
yes, the exhibitions, Tutankhamun's, for example, even the recent replica. There's been replicas in St. Petersburg in Russia. This is all kind of a marketing campaign, is it? And how successful is it in your opinion? Whether you show people the real antiquity or even a replica just to educate them on the treasures back home.
It is a marketing campaign. I have to tell you, as a tourism promotion guy, I can tell you this. It is a marketing campaign. We are actually marketing our treasures, historical treasures, and also our culture. That this is the Egyptian culture where it comes from, all of that. But on the other hand, that's only promoting one part of a culture that is everyone knows about it.
Already.
Like, for example, when you go into curriculum, education curriculum of kids, and in the
Pyramids,
schools,
ancient Egypt.
they study it. They study the
Basics,
pyramids,
yes.
Tutankhamun, all of that. So it's part of what they study, and they want to see it. For example, if I bring you here in Egypt, the terracotta warriors, for example, from China, okay, there are like warriors, statues of warriors. If I bring it on an international tour, I won't be eager so much to go and see it in China itself, all right? It has a good impact and a bad impact. It just get people to see what they want to see, right?
Makes them a bit lazy, though.
Bit them a bit lazy about making the decision.
Yes.
And at the same time, it tells those who are not aware about this culture that this culture is there and interesting and everything. What I wanted to do is something a little different. You can do it as a teaser. You can have these exhibitions as a teaser, right? So don't go put an exhibition there for 6 months or 10 months or a year. It's too long. Just keep it there as a teaser. Keep it for 1 month. Keep it as a teaser. At least those who are not able to see it or to get access to it, they will get a flight and come to the country to see it, right? So do it as a teaser. On the other hand, combine it with convoy, what I would say, not a convoy, combine it with a networking of local companies that you can send there and provide different products about this country so people can get engaged. In the moment of people when they are thinking about a culture of a country, when they are thinking about a dream vacation,
excited,
there is an excitement. When they are in the middle of that excitement, it actually fades away. So when you are in the middle of that excitement, you need to seize this moment. It's like, would you like to sign up for a trip? Would you like to sign up for this? Would you like to do that? So we need to combine it with a lot of promotional programs, sales programs to those people. We need to combine it with, we need to get at least 4 or 5 companies to go and surround these shows so they can present their
packages and
offers, and not only offer culture tourism but also offer leisure tourism and offer recreational tourism, you know,
and religious tourism,
and
which is,
ecotourism and religious tourism. Speaking of the religious tourism, speaking of the bath of Jesus Christ, you know, going through Egypt, the Holy Family bath. And if people are aware about these things, then they're going to sign up. They're going to show interest, and once they sign up and show, even if they come the next year, once they sign up and show interest, that means you gain people attention. But just don't go and put it there for 1 year. People getting, even in our country, they get lazy. It's like, okay, I'm going to see it next month. I'm going to see it in the months after. And then, okay, would you like to go to Egypt? No, man, I just seen I've seen everything that I wanted to see.
Right. I'm afraid we're running out of time. So just one final question, Mr. Ale. The Grand Egyptian Museum. I can't finish this episode without talking about this very amazing, ambitious project, which will be inaugurated at the end of next year, which will be one of the biggest museums in the world, showing the amazing ancient Egyptian history and antiquities. How important is this project in your opinion? How can it be marketed to the max? And how will it change cultural tourism in your opinion?
Thinking of this, it's related to the topic that we spoke about earlier. It's like when you put all these treasures in the Egyptian Museum, the new Egyptian Museum, and you need to have people teased. You need to have them coming to see that museum. It needs to sell itself as a brand, as a new brand, not only as the largest, the biggest museum in the world for Egyptian antiquities, but as a brand that can show things that no other ones can see it. For example, if you go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York. In Metropolitan Museum in New York, there are rooms that are extremely famous that you need to see the Metropolitan Museum in New York. If you go to the Louvre, there is the room which has the Mona Lisa. So people go to these areas just for that, just because they want to see it. You know, the new Louvre in Abu Dhabi, there are some, the people go there for the architectural design and the way how they allow the lights into the on the exhibitions. So to mention a lot of examples, but a few, but I would like to emphasize on this impact. The new Egyptian Museum is a great jewel. If we maintain that museum in a better way and do its own promotional campaign. One of the things that we are doing right now, which is still healthy, but on the long run is not going to be healthy, is to keep the Egyptian museum promoted as a part of the country promotional campaign. What we need to do is to have the museum have its own promotional budget to promote itself, to have a budget for its own promotion as a brand, to stand out as a brand. The Louvre Museum does that, the British Museum does that, the Metropolitan Museum does that. All of them, they have their own private budget of promotion to promote their own shows, to promote their own exhibitions, because most of these museums have got internal exhibitions, and that draws people to come in and out. In this case, you create your own audience. Once you create your own audience, anything you do in the future, you address that audience and comes back to you, and so on and so forth, until you grow the audience by millions. And that becomes like a product, a viable product that sells itself, and it's not connected to any political events that happen in a country, whether it's negative or positive.
As the Louvre, for example, whether there's street protests in Paris, people are still visiting the Louvre.
Still queuing for kilometers to see the Louvre.
Yes, indeed. Yes. I'm afraid we have run out of time. Mr. Ala Khalifa, the international tourism expert, I'd like to thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This was very insightful. It was a pleasure to have you with us this afternoon.
Thank
you very much, sir.
Ladies
and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today. You're in the company of myself, Angie Mehermini. Thanks for watching.